Hello. Hi. Okay. Um, Hi Baguettes. Okay, so we'll start today. Just tell your classmates to just come into the Zoom room. But is the audio working? Let me know. Oh wait, you guys can't unmute yourselves ata. So just comment in the chat kung okay yung audio. Okay, yes, nice. Okay. So today I invited one of my friends over. Actually, siya yung isa sa mga una ko talagang in-invite. Um, I don't know why. Why did I invite you, PK? But yeah, so I invited this guy because he knows his way around photos, Instagram, creating that whole community as well. Ayan, he unmuted himself. I'm sure you can introduce yourself, PK, later on. Wow, naka-OBS ka ba? May face reveal. So I'll just let him take the stage or the Zoom room. I'll just be here. But yeah, just reminders lang, of course, for everyone. We do have the quiz later on today. And the usual, share what you learned today in, how many was it? 240 characters, right? The Twitter, kasing short ng tweet, no? Because that counts as your attendance for today. Hi, PK. Look at you. You're all dressed up. So I'll let you. You're so BS. I'm not prepared. So I'll let you take the stage now, I guess.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Can you hear me, Pat?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just quickly share my screen. Right. Can everyone else see my screen? Hello? Can
Hi, I
Pat?
can see.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, sure. All right, so let's start. Okay, so this won't be a long presentation. Okay, so right. So I am Patrick Kasingsing, and today I'll be talking to you about photography and advocacy. And this will be largely anchored with discussions using two passion projects that I currently run, which is Brutalist Filipinas and Modernist Filipinas. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let me quickly introduce myself. So I'm going to do so by uh, through this grid that I created. These are actually all the activities and the fun stuff I was able to do last year during the height of the pandemic. So for the first box, I guess I would consider myself lucky that before the pandemic, I was able to make one quick trip outside the country. So I went to Singapore and basically embarked on an archi pilgrimage where I just walked around, took pictures of beautiful architecture. So you'll notice as we go along that architecture is something that I'm really passionate about. So and this is also what led me to take pictures of it and what aided me in and informed me in how to go about with my passion projects. So the second box is a planter. So like many other people in this pandemic, so I also became a certified plantito last year. So um, in order to house my my small plant collection in better planters, I designed one made out of pine wood, which was what we call this manufactured by the folks from Lamana PH. So yes, there you go. So I gave Pat one as well. So it was
Hi,
inspired.
everyone. Here.
Okay. Pag mataas daw yung grade sa quiz, ibibigay ni Pat yun sa kanya. Joke. Well, anyway, so this planter is inspired by nesting cranes, and you'll notice that there's that weird protrusion up top. It's actually to help support the plant when it gets taller. So for the third box, I did a lot. Surprisingly, for during the height of the lockdown, I did a lot of talks last year, and this is mostly involving Brutalist Filipinas, which is my main passion project during that time. So I gave one talk for Brutalist Filipinas. I think this was during March. And then for the fourth box, during my birthday, I launched another passion project, which is Modernist Filipinas. You'll get to know this project a little more later on during the presentation. For the fourth box, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I was able to, able to practice it with this particular project that I did for a friend when I did the branding identity for her scented candle business. Ironically, during the pandemic as well, I got more writing assignments than actual graphic design work, and I was able to write my first whole book. So it's this book right here, Alero Design Collage. And then for the, where are we again? Seventh box. So uh, in the tail end of the year, I was able to embark on a really fun project. What do you call this? We were able to, a friend and I, a photographer friend and I were able to shoot 60 plus architectural landmarks throughout the metro for a modernist architecture documentation project done for the University of Santo Tomas and the University of Tokyo. So one of the pictures that we took is right here. Also during December, I was invited by the PICC to have a tour of their convention center grounds without people. So it was such a memorable experience, as you know, you rarely get to see the PICC without people. So it's pretty memorable, and it's pretty special and unique. But you also kind of get a sense of, the convention center being incomplete without the people, because that's the essence of, what a convention center is anyway, to host events. And lastly, we have this box right here. So last January 2021, uh, I was able to relaunch my original passion project, canto.com.ph, into a website. So there you go. I hope you guys have time to visit. It's canto.com.ph. And Pat also was able to write a few articles for us. All right, so let's start the presentation proper. So most of my presentation today will be anchored on this particular passion project, just Brutalist Filipinas. It is a documentation project that I began last 2018. Uh, it is in essence, a documentation project that is based in social media, and it's a crowdsourcing platform whose goal is to document and raise awareness about the plight of brutalist architecture within the Philippines. So don't worry, I won't be boring you today with the details of what a brutalist building is, but as I guess in essence, you'll be able to recognize a brutalist structure mostly because if it's usually made of concrete, and it's a building that has been built during the mid 60s up to the late 80s, or during the Marcos era. So those are what you would consider brutalist architecture. So there's the handle right there at Brutalist Filipinas. So far, uh, the platform has a total of 11.9 thousand followers on Instagram and around 3,000 plus on Facebook. You were able to document 150 plus structures up to now, and it's okay, this is outdated. It's around 2.5 years old. And the schedule, how this works is I post every weekday a new building in the feed, so in Instagram and on Facebook. And the way these posts appear, which I post during 6 to 8 p.m., is that you have the name of the structure, you have the name of the architect, the name of the location of the structure, and the year that it was completed. And finally, excuse me, you have the name of the photographer at the bottom. All right, so Modernist Pilipinas naman is more or less the same thing. So I utilize the same social media crowdsourced driven model for this particular project. This was mostly inspired by the events of the Film Life demolition that happened last year. So it really drove me mad. And it really brought to the forefront why, the plight of modernist structures in the Philippines and why we are abandoning them. So I started this little thing to document, what little modernist heritage that we have left. And it's still relatively new, as you can see. I was only able to document 46 structures so far, and of course, you really can't go out a lot these days. So I guess it will stay low for the foreseeable future. So 1.1 thousand followers so far, and it functions more or less the same as Brutalist Filipinas. You have weekday posts, and the format uh, this follows the Brutalist Filipinas format. Okay, so before I start with the photography bit of this presentation, let's talk first about advocacy. So the reason why I wanted to talk about advocacy first is, first and foremost, I realized during my experience running these two passion projects, how the platforms that I use, social media and photography, proved to be um, really effective in trying to raise awareness and trying to, bring to a larger audience these problems and these issues that are being faced by heritage buildings today. So um, why the reason also why I wanted to bring this, I mean, bring to the forefront this particular aspect of the my passion project is that if you guys also want to start your own advocacy driven projects, I would say that this is a good platform to do so. I mean, using social media and using photography, but you also have to ask yourself these foundational questions, which is number one, what cause do you want to champion, and what issues do you want to bring attention to. You have to be able to focus what you want to say. Um, I guess into one or 2 points. It's impossible to like for one person to address all these points by your own. So concentrate on one aspect of a problem that you think can be addressed by this particular platform. So in my case, the cause that I want to champion is to bring to the forefront the plight of brutalist architecture, modernist architecture, or heritage architecture for that matter, and that they need help and they need awareness and that they need attention because they are being abandoned and they are being indiscriminately demolished for the sake of so-called development. So the issue that I want to bring people's attention to is the conditions that these structures are currently facing today, and these are things that are best illustrated through photography. All right. So next thing that you have to take in mind when you want to embark on your own advocacy is what form will you champion this advocacy? Um, okay. So for this particular point, I decided early on that I wanted to use leverage the powers of social media in order to promulgate this advocacy because for one, social media is easy to use. You can use it anywhere. You can use it anytime. You can use Facebook or Instagram and just post wherever you are. But also because it reaches more people. And for projects such as Brutalist Filipinas, in a way, numbers matter because the more people that are aware of the messages that you're trying to put out, and then more of them will get enlightened and will be more aware of the problems that you are trying to bring to the surface of the discussion, of the public discussion. So and the third point is knowing what tools that you have at your disposal. So in my case, as I mentioned a while ago, I utilized social media. Um, I utilized photography, and I guess it helps that I love taking pictures of buildings in the first place. So this is something that really gelled well together. Um, okay, so the crowdsourcing part, I'm actually like a really introverted person. I really like super hate interacting with people. But for advocacies, you really need to put yourself out there, and you really need to like talk to people. You need to do these talks. I hate doing talks, and I'm not very good at doing talks. But if you want to push your message to the public and for the pub and for concrete change to happen, you have to do these things and be more open and be more communicative and be more proactive in sharing your message. And finally, research. So it's not just enough for you to like put out nice looking pictures of buildings. You also need to do research. So behind every Brutalist Filipinas post, there's like painstaking research that needs to be done to locate the architect, to look the term identify the architect, to locate where the structure is, to find out what its condition is, and to know what year it was completed. So there's a lot of research that needs to happen before you put out these information. And in this day and age of fake news and widespread misinformation, you owe it to your audience to do the due diligence to put out information that can be trusted and that can be referenced as well. All right. Excuse me. So um, just to show you the three anchors that basically make Brutalist Filipinas, or basically makes the identity of Brutalist Filipinas is basically these three. So it's documentation, recording what is extant or what is existing visually. Next is information, obtaining references and data that describe the subject, and finally is dissemination, sharing data and imagery for public consumption. Now, for today's talk, since we don't have a lot of time, I'll be focusing more on documentation. Right. So, right, documentation. Um, so for a project such as Brutalist Filipinas, you have to be clear from the get-go what you want to document, and for a database such as Brutalist Filipinas, you have to be very discriminating about the things that you put out, because brutalist architecture itself is not a subject that is like, widespread knowledge. Maraming nako-confuse. Ano ba yung brutalist architecture na yan? Brutal ba yan? Or is it like, uh, all those other misconceptions about it. So, in order for people to, understand what you want to tell them, you have to be able to, curate your content in a way that it is more targeted and it is consistent. So, you need to know what you need. You need to know first what you want to document. So in my case, of course, it's brutalist architecture. So you won't see any other examples of other styles in my account. So you don't have Art Deco, you don't have Modernism. It's brutalist architecture. Kasi if you look at the account, parang magigauge mo na rin yung mga common themes between these buildings. Like, okay, so parang most of these buildings are made of concrete. They're usually unpainted. They're usually made of materials that are very textural. So you more or less understand what I'm trying to get at already just by looking at the documentation that I've created. So next, what information is needed? Since Brutalist Filipinas was designed to be like more or less like the public's how do I say this? Like a quick way for the public to understand what brutalist architecture is. I didn't really make it super difficult or super technical. So what you get from each post that I showed a while ago are very basic information, like yun nga, name of architect, where the structure is located, when was it completed, and stuff like this. So you need to know what sort of information you need to locate, where you can get this information. Next is what can be learned. At the end of the day, you also need to look at your end game for the project. So yung end game for this particular project is for more people to be aware of what brutalist architecture is, and secondly, to be more aware of the plight of heritage architecture in general in the Philippines, and that it is not faring well, and something needs to be done about it. I guess that also touches on the next question that's in here, which is what message does it convey, and what is your desired outcome. So that also answers it. So yung desired outcome, basically more enlightened Filipinos and individuals that are more aware of the importance of heritage architecture. Bakit ba yan importante? So why are you documenting these things? So yun yung parang thesis ng project na to that I want to put out, and what I want people to discover on their own through their experience in the account. Okay, so in documentation, you have these 5 points to take note of. And these are things that I always take note of before I leave for a photo walk. So for everyone's information siguro. So during the early days of Brutalist Filipinas, nung wala pa masyado nagsasubmit ng mga Brutalist posts, kasi syempre, medyo hindi pa masyado maalam yung tao kung ano yung, like, what is this brutalism thing that you're talking about. So for the first few months, I guess, I embarked on a couple of photo walks around Makati and UP and Manila. So basically what you do in these photo walks is you just walk around the entire day throughout in a certain vicinity and take pictures of buildings. So before you can do that, these are the 5 things that I had to take note of before embarking on that journey. So for one, syempre location, di ba? So where is my site, and what are the characteristics of my location? So documentation kasi is not as easy as parang just taking pictures of parang yung parang touristy pictures. It's much more than that. Documentation photography kasi is very factual. So in other words, it's walang arte. So dapat what you take photos of are presented in as accurate in nabubulo lang in as factual, sorry, in as real a way as possible. I'm sorry about that. So basically, what you see is what you get. Parang news basically. So ganun yung parang aim ng documentation photography. So syempre, for example, like Manila yung location ko, di ba? So, what are the things that I need to take note of when I walk around Manila? We all know naman na Manila is a very difficult place to go around in. So I need to make the necessary precautions and preparations in order for me to like go around. Like for example, gumagawa na ako ng itinerary ko beforehand. Like in a way, ginagawa ko na sa Google Maps yung mga potential spots that I'll be visiting. So those those have already been prepared beforehand. So next is condition. What is the state of the space I am documenting? So in order for you, not to set yourself up for disappointment, also it's good to do what they call this your research beforehand of the building that you're taking photos of. So ano na ba itsura ng building to ngayon? So it's an easy Google image query for you to find out kung ano yung state ng building ngayon that you want to document or photograph. Next is yun nga medyo basic weather. Of course you can't it's hard to take pictures during when it's raining. So you also have to do your research as to what the weather conditions are and what you can expect on the day of your shoot. Next are the constraints. So what limitations, restrictions, or challenges can I expect from shooting on site? There are places that when you go to, you can't just like whip up your camera and start shooting pictures of buildings. Like for example in Makati, Makati is not, especially the CBD is notorious for having like really strict rules when it comes to professional photography within the CBD. So you have to take note of these challenges, like kailangan ka bang kumuha ng permit and all these things. So uh, documentation is important, but you have to do it in a way syempre na is legal, di ba?
Correct. I
Yeah.
have a question about that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, so like, what do you call this? Yeah, because I don't think I've taught them this yet. Pero in BGC, diba, they used to, our friends who are photographers, diba, in BGC, they would literally confiscate your SD card if you didn't have like a permit to take a shoot in that area. Do they still do that now?
I think in BGC, they're much more relaxed. Si Makati yung, I'm sure they're still kind of strict. As in, pati nga yung mga cyclists, di ba, sobrang sita sila, di ba? Pero, and it's understandable kasi sa Makati CBD, you have all these government offices
Yeah,
and embassies there. So it's hard to just, or indiscriminately take pictures of buildings all of a sudden. Syempre may mga privacy issues. So it's important to,
that's true.
get a permit. Or for you to skirt the law and technically you're not breaking the law, you can use your phones. You'll find out later on when I show my tools of the trade what how I go about these constraints. Okay, but that's a good question. So yun nga, if you want to go to BGC, well syempre following IATF guidelines. Pwede na kaya mag-photo shoot doon. Okay, so there are constraints. And finally, schedule. When am I shooting? Meron bang holiday? Meron bang event na mangyayari dun sa particular place where I'm shooting at? What are the characteristics of the site on different times of day? So siguro pro tip, like for example, if you want to document buildings in Makati, the best time to do so is during a weekend because it's practically a ghost town. Well, ngayon naman, ghost town yung Makati as in like any day of the week. Pero, yun nga, pre-pandemic, I usually do my photo walks on Saturdays and Sundays kasi yun nga, walang tao. So, walang haharang sa pictures mo and walang maningita. Okay, so there you go. Right, so before I head on to, talking about photography and in proper, I'd like to share this particular passage that I encountered in a recent interview I did for canto.com.ph. So what I did kasi is I interviewed this Italian architectural photographer named Roberto Conte. So I asked him what he thinks an architectural photographer, like what his process should be. So, and this is what he said. Okay, so by the way, that's not him on this picture. This is like his idol, si Gabriele Basilico. So according to him, Gabriele Basilico once said that taking an architectural image is first of all about the mind. So one needs to know first what is being seen, what the story is behind it, how it relates to the existing urban fabric, and so on. Then it is about the feet because you need to walk to the space and physically explore it. Only then, after all that, does it become about the eye, deciding the moment when the photo is to be taken, which is the very last step. So basically what the point is here is don't just take pictures, guys. So you have to know what you're taking pictures of. You need to understand why you want to take a picture of this particular structure, what aspects of this particular space or even person do you want to take a photo of. Your photos, I think this is very good practice. When you take a photo, you need to know what story you want to tell before you snap away. And once you have that particular narrative in mind, it will be easier for you to take the photos that you want. Kasi alam mo na yung parang takbo ng narrative na gusto mo mangyari. Hindi ka na parang shoot. Tapos sa Photoshop, okay, ito pala yung mga pwede kong gawin. Whatever and whatnot. And then you'll feel guilty
Yeah.
na parang, why didn't I do this, di ba? Yes, go ahead.
PK, I just wanted to add to what you mentioned. Kasi like, I think, no, like hindi ko alam kung naabutan pa ng mga bagets na to yung Kodak time, no? Na yung mga pictures, hindi pwedeng picture ka na lang picture kasi 21 strips lang ng film ang meron, 'di ba, sa Kodak noon. Or kung mayaman ka, kaya ata 35 strips, 'di ba? So you can only take 35 photos on yung mga cameras before. So parang it also syempre ngayon sa phone, di ba, pindot ka na lang ng pindot. Minsan may burst option pa. So parang bala na. Tapos pag uwi mo, pagdating mo sa editing nga, like ang dami mong options. You don't know which, sometimes they all look the same. Sayang lang sa storage. And yeah, like I agree with the whole, you have to plan nga, no? Like before you shoot, iplano mo muna what you want to capture. Kasi yeah, sure, shoot ka ng shoot, pero mamaya, like, ang dami mo nang kailangan i-delete and stuff. So, yeah, sorry, continue. Yun na, I just
Yes.
wanted to share.
What they call this disclaimer, syempre, you don't, this particular attitude towards photography, you don't do this naman about for every single photo that you want to take. Syempre, kung mga OOTD o yung mga team photo, hindi na magplano ng narrative, syempre. But this is more for documentation type photography where, you're championing something. So, I would say that this advice would prove useful to me, and this is something I want to share to you guys as well. Okay, so right there. So to sum up what was said a while ago, you have to know your subject, you have to read your subject, and you have to explore your subject. And this is particularly very much what they call is relevant, of course, if you're shooting architecture, because these are non-living entities that are just there. Thank God, right? So, but even if they are non-living things, you need to bring them to life, and one way to do so, or in order to tell the stories of these spaces, is by really taking the time to know them, to read them, and to explore them. All right. Okay, guys, don't worry. Malapit na tayong matapos. So, okay, photography. So let's talk about photography now. So the photography part of the documentation project was, for me, it's an enjoyable experience kasi, from the get-go, I really enjoy taking photos. I'm not a professional photographer by any means. More of, I really consider myself as a hobby photographer. But, I like to think that when you keep on doing it, you learn along the way, and you get really good at it. And I guess that's how it is with me. So that's how I learned how to take pictures of, and how to view buildings as well. So these two pictures are actually taken at the same vantage point, and this is the PICC in Pasay. All right, so let me share you my photography tools. So disclaimer, syempre, you don't have to buy a Samsung Galaxy or a Xiaomi Mi Note or a Canon EOS M. Okay, so these are the stuff that I currently have on hand. And what I'd like to say here also is you don't need a DSLR.
Affiliate marketing ka pala,
Diba?
Patrick.
So,
Yung promo code, bringing
okay.
link.
Send ko sa inyo mamaya yung promo code. Joke. Pero what I'm trying to show here is you don't limit yourselves to, parang wala akong DSLR. Hindi iPhone 12 Pro Max yung phone ko, so hindi na ako magpo-photo. That's not a valid excuse. So in my case kasi, so these phones, like for example, the first one, I bought it for work. So I really need the phone that can really handle all the stuff that I need to do for work. So it just so happens that it also has a good camera. But then I really discovered when I was doing more shoots na may limitations si Samsung Galaxy Note despite it being very expensive. So I bought another one, si Xiaomi Mi Note, which is way cheaper, and it has the fun stuff about this one is it has 5 cameras. Naging, naging unbox.ph na pala tong segment na to. So this particular phone has 5 cameras, and for someone like me, like who takes pictures of buildings, super useful kasi yung way wide angle lens. Kasi when you want to take a picture of like a huge building, if you're using like a normal camera, hindi siya kasha. So parang it's really frustrating. So what I really like about this phone is that it enabled me to shoot like really wide buildings. Like for example, si post office sa Manila. For the first time in my 4 or 5 years of shooting it, na-shoot ko siya ng buo. Kahit yung Canon EOS M ko hindi niya kaya kasi medyo limited yung lens. Pero this phone was able to do it quickly. And since it's a phone, it's very easy to share. Once I shot it, I was able to, parang quickly share it na agad and stuff like that. So, ayun, that's why, so hindi siya luho basically, yeah. That's I'm not saying like, I mean, you don't have to have 2 phones. So if you had to have one phone or one imaging device, parang try to get the imaging device that has all the tools that you think, excuse me, will be useful for your documentation effort. So lastly, you'll find here that the secondary camera is actually like the real camera, si Canon EOS M. I bought this camera like 6 years ago, so it's pretty old already. And what I really like about this particular model is it's very small. Since it's a micro four thirds model, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the very first mirrorless camera of Canon. So why did I make it my secondary camera? For something kasi like Brutalist Pilipinas, for me mas matimbang yung mabilisan. So with the phone kasi, I know you can do this with new cameras now, but I really can't I can't afford to buy a new camera, especially now. So um for documentation projects, for me it matters that I can share already what I have shot and quickly edit it, diba? So you can edit naman using your camera. So these phones allow me to do this and allow me to post it right away. Like for example, 6 p.m. na. So kaya ko na siya kagad i-post. So these are the three things that I usually bring with me whenever I walk around. And go on my photo walk. So and they've been very helpful. And as I'd like to emphasize again, it doesn't matter kung ano yung camera na meron ka, di ba? What the best, yun yung may saying nga, di ba? Parang the best camera to have is the one that you have on you when you need to shoot a particular event or particular person or particular something. So there you go. Next is these are the 3 tools that I utilize and will probably, this project wouldn't have been possible without the combo of these 3 apps. So the app that I use the most is, I'm sure you guys are also familiar with this when you take a lot of photos with your phone, is Snapseed. Super lifesaver nitong si Snapseed because it's super feature packed. It allows me to do a lot of things that Photoshop can also do, but with your phone. It also enables you to like quickly remove people in your photos if you want to undistort photos if you need to, and other things. So I suggest you guys download it. It's free naman, don't worry. So it's free and it's just so feature packed, and I think you guys can also use it even if you aren't shooting buildings. So this one naman is a paid app that I paid for kasi sobrang kailangan ko siya dahil my first few photos kasi were like really heavily distorted and had barrel distortion. So yung barrel distortion or yung fisheye is that yung when you take a picture of a structure tapos yung lens mo is naka-fisheye or parang tinatry niya magpasok ng as much of your subject into the frame as possible, you'll notice na nagbabulge yung gitna, di ba? So it looks kind of weird. So for documentation photography kasi, that's a big no-no. So I bought this app. I think it's around like 78 pesos. And what this does is it helps me remove the barrel distortion for the photo. So when you look at the picture of a building, for example, yung line straight siya, hindi siya parang naka-curve or naka-bulge sa gitna. So you can do this also in Photoshop, syempre. Pero if if you want to edit on the fly, this is very useful. And finally, so if I needed to do a lot of heavy editing, syempre, you use Photoshop in order to be able to like really go into the nitty-gritty of fixing things, lalo na for documentation photography, where you need to do a lot of distortion, removing things that shouldn't be there and whatnot. All right, so ito na yung part of the presentation where I share you the tips and tricks that I employ when I go on shoots. So these are very, very basic, to be honest. But for me, like these basic tips kasi are things that people take for granted. So, once you have these principles down pat, parang um, malaking bagay na yon sa improvement ng photos mo, lalo na if you're shooting architecture or yun nga, if you're shooting for documentation. So the first tip is syempre, keep lines straight and undistorted. Yung buildings naman has straight
I just
lines.
wanna
Oh, sige, go
share
ahead.
before you
Go.
go further.
Go ahead.
Like Like, tas me and Patrick, okay, just a bit of context. So kami ni Patrick, office mates kami sa Mega before, no? So he was working on Blueprint. I was working on condo living in my home. And I kid you not, to. Syempre nung nagsimula ako, hindi ko naman alam na parang, like, distorted pala, tabingi pala yung pader, ganun. And like, he would always, like, walk up to me and tell me, like, sobrang distorted yun, ah. Pero pag tinignan ko, parang hindi ko naman makita. Paano naging balik? Alam mo yun, like, nandun ako sa place itself, nandun ako sa bahay, sa condo. For sure, hindi naman balaktot yung pader, diba? So, parang pinagsasabi niya, but then eventually, no, you see the time it takes talaga also to correct the building. Like, yung mga pader talaga, guys, nandun I don't think there's any other way to say it except, the devil is really in the details. And that's why, like, for brutalist and modernist, no, kaya ang ganda ng Instagram feed nila. Kasi, like, all the lines are like super straight, as in like wala kayong makikitang like distortion or anything, and that's what makes the feed, no, like alam mo yun, it's those small details that make the feed look incredible talaga. Yeah, wala lang, yun lang, but you wouldn't notice it, yun nga, like what Patrick was saying. I guess you wouldn't notice it if you're you're into this, ganun. Ako di ko napansin at the start, pero eventually parang like, oh, okay, I know what he means na distorted to or whatever. So, yeah. Sorry, go on.
Sige. To add to that, yung sense naman of keeping lines straight and undistorted, basically, ang essence why you need to do so is because in real life, it is straight and yun nga, the horizontal lines are straight, the verticals are straight. And kasi, if you don't remove the distortion, a person's view kasi of a building might also be distorted. So baka isipin niya, nakaslant ba tong building na to? Or naka-bulge ba to? Or ganito ba talaga siya kalaki? So, for a project that hinges a lot on accurate documentation such as Brutalist Pilipinas, it's very important to have these little things down pat. So, and remember, my audience din kasi for Brutalist Pilipinas, aside from yun nga, the layman, is yung mga architects. So, syempre, judge nila ako kung yung mga photos ko is yung mga distorted. So, it's it may sound difficult, pero it's really just a simple, way of, keeping trying to locate where the dominant vertical line is and the dominant horizontal line is in the photo that you want to shoot. So for this particular photo, the one on the leftmost photo, which is the Makati Stock Exchange. So hahanapin ko yung dominant horizontal, which is yung dito sa portico share ng building, and yung dominant vertical, which is yung shoulder ng building. And yun yung gagawin kong basis to undistort it using Snapseed. So guys, you can also use the app to undistort things. You don't need to depend on Photoshop. So for this shot naman of PICC, yun nga, so there are a lot of lines in this particular image, but you only really need to take note of two in order for you to undistort it. And this is this one, the one that levels the photo. So titignan mo rin yung horizon ng photo mo kung dapat pantay siya. Kasi di ba pag tumingin ka naman in the distance, dapat yung horizon line mo is a straight line. Yun, pwede mo rin siyang gawing reference point. So here, the dominant vertical is this, yung more or less like the center of the photo. So yun yung gagawin mong basis. Okay, so for this particular naman, yung the one on the rightmost one, it's a bit easier to understand kasi marami siyang straight lines. So you more or less know how you can understand this particular photo. I'm also teaching this kasi in a way, sometimes, for example, in Makati, this is very, very relevant in the Makati CBD. Minsan makikita din yung mga streets, di ba? And sometimes yung camera mo, it can only do so much. Kailangan mo talaga mag-shoot ng, like, for example, nakapatingala ka. So, para mapasok mo yung buong building, di ba? So, and one way for you to correct that is for you to, yun nga, is to undistort it and take note of the lines that you need to, parang take note of as reference in order for you to undistort the photos. Don't worry, this is mostly relevant talaga sa buildings. You don't need to do this in humans. It's gonna look really weird. So, ayun. So that's tip number 1. Okay, number 2. So Again, this is for documentation photography or architectural photography purposes. You don't need to do this all the time, lalo na sa mga informal photography things. So keep to stable and simple images. For a documentation project such as Brutalist Pilipinas, you need to bear in mind that the picture of the structure that you're showing might be the first time for the person, or the viewer to see it in ever. So hindi pa nila alam yung building. Ang lagi kong assumption is hindi sila aware sa building na yan. So what I do is I always shoot an elevation shot, basically a flat shot of the building's front facade. So that's what you call an elevation shot. So I try as much as possible to shoot an elevation shot of the building, and then I also do like an angled shot to show parang to show more of the details in the facade. Kasi syempre kung frontal shot, minsan nafa-flatten yung details sa picture, 'di ba? So when you do like a side shot, medyo lalabas dyan yung magpa-pop out yung mga details sa facade ng building. And finally, when you have the time, you can also play around and do these types of lookup shots, which further improves or enhances a person's appreciation of the building's design. So parang with this particular lookup shot, parang ma-appreciate mo yung brick-brick ng structure and yung rhythmic lines of the structure's facade. Okay, so if you guys want to visit this building, this one is in the Legazpi Village in Makati CBD. Okay, so GCQ na naman ngayon, pero syempre don't go out muna. Okay, so next, cover all sides as much as you can. So when you go on photo walks, maximize nyo na, lalo na ngayon sa pandemic, mag-maximize nyo na kasi syempre, you never know what will happen, di ba, bang mamaya lockdown na naman. Or in my case, nung time na to, hindi ko alam kung uulan bigla or whatever. So as much as possible, when you're already what do you call this, fixated on a certain building, cover all sides na. Nandun ka na eh. So take a picture of it from the side, take a picture of it from the left, from the right, from the front, from the back. So this particular building is just Legazpi 100, also in the Legazpi Village side of the Makati CBD. So kahit medyo effort, ikutin siya kasi alam mo na may mga streets sa Makati, di ba? Sobrang ang haba nila. Tapos you really need to walk the entire length of the street in order for you to go to the next street behind it. So this particular building, I took pictures of its front facade, which is the first photo. The second photo is actually the back of the building. As you can see, di ba, parang ang exciting tingnan nung building. Kasi, I mean, it's exciting to find out what the building looks like from different sides kasi you don't know what to expect. And yun nga, parang I wasn't disappointed kasi the building is like really, really, what they call this, very, very, very playful and very, what they call this, rhythmic, and very, very nice to look at in general. Kasi parang hindi siya yung normal run-of-the-mill flat-looking building. It has wings, it has arms, and it has protruding elements in it. So the facade, the front facade is very interesting because it has this cantilevering part in front. Okay, so what cantilevering means is basically meron nakaumbok na part na para siyang naka-extend, para siyang lumulutang na part, as you can see here. Meron naman siyang support dun sa dulo, pero when you see it kasi from this vantage point, mukha siyang walang support. So these things make a building, like look really exciting and makes it even more pleasurable to photograph. So yun, cover all sides as much as you can. Next is include reference for scale. So sometimes you don't have to remove every single human being in your photo for architectural or documentation photography. So in this particular set, for example, in the CCP, I wanted to show for this particular photo the size of the National Theater. So what I did is I went down the podium and took this picture and waited for the security guard to walk. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but there's this really tiny human being there in the bottom left. And it made for like a really dramatic photo kasi parang, lalo na pag naka-black and white siya, andito yung tao and then you have this really bold geometric lines and shapes like emanating from him. At the same time, kahit maliit siya, parang siya yung center of the photo kasi parang all the lines of this photo are all hurtling towards him. So, ayun. So for this particular photo, this is actually like, this isn't for the documentation effort. I just wanted to shoot a picture of my friend. Pero you can see here, si Sir Ed yan, si Pat. So you can see here na parang you have a good sense of how big this particular structure is. And parang mas ma-appreciate mo yung building kasi parang, wow, this particular section of the building is like it looks like it's floating, it's massive. So it really adds more interest and a sort of mystery to your photo as well. Okay, for this third photo naman,
Is
this
this
is
PICC pa rin? Sorry.
which
Like the
one?
one with Sir Ed?
Yeah, this one's the PICC. Okay, this is on top of the bridgeway.
The one
So
with Sir Ed. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Tapos yung third, this one is also in Legazpi. I swear guys, sa Legazpi Village, ang daming magandang buildings to take pictures of. But again, do not go to Makati until mabahunahan na kayo, or I don't know. Basta wag muna kayo, wag muna kayo maglalabas. So this was all of these photos were taken before the pandemic. Okay, so just so it's clear. Okay, so the third photo is you have the guy on top of the motorcycle to serve as reference for this photo. Kasi kung tanggalin mo yan, medyo mahirap ma-discern din yung reference. So, ayun. And,
Before you go to the
sure.
next, sorry, I just wanna add to the previous point, which is like the scale thing. But nag-skip ka na? Wait. Ayan, okay. The scale kasi guys, like I also wanna add, no, since some of you, the people who wanna do your business, maglagay din kayo ng props. Like this rule also applies for retail photography. Kasi like minsan, di ba, like on Shopee, makakakita kayo ng, kunyari, like bookshelf, 300 pesos. Yun pala, yung maliliit pala yun, di ba? Yung
pang Barbie. Or
Barbie doll bookshelf. So, di ba, ang daming na-scam ng ganun eh. So, yeah, and I think it helps, no? Like me, like with candles, add a book, kasi related din naman siya. And I think with this naman, syempre related, not necessarily super related, but I mean, make your props make sense. Na I think Patrick also was the first one to tell me that. Kasi, I don't know, PK, if you can remember this, pero pag naglagay kayo ng props, not just for scale, no, but also to tell a story dun sa photos. Kasi, I think it was Patrick who was the first one to tell me this. Basta like nagpicture ako ng breakfast in bed. Tapos may cactus dun sa tray. Tapos parang, I'm not sure BK if it was you or someone else, but I think it was you who said na, kakainin mo ba yung cactus? Ba't nasa tray? So, I think not just for scale, no, but also to make the photos have a story and para may laman siya. It has to make sense, no? Parang the props you bring need to add something to the photo itself. So, but yeah, for those who want to do the e-commerce route, no, of course, it helps kung kunyari yung lipstick, itabi nyo to something, ihawakan nyo or something para makita rin gano'ng kalaking item. Kasi syempre, hindi naman physically nakikita, di ba? Pag nag-online shopping kayo, hindi nyo naman physically makikita. At least, pag merong product na katabi, or item, you'll see it for scale. But sorry, PK, continue.
Sige. Okay, I'll do this faster. Medyo nag-overtime na pala ako according to my stopwatch. So, so next tip, include context and stay true to reality. Ayan, ito. Okay. So marami na nabibiktima nito sa Facebook na kung ano-anong mga, yung naalala niyo ba yun? Yung sa Manila Bay, yung isa Manila Bay na beach daw, na blue yung tubig, na inano lang pala sa Photoshop. So, for documentation photography, super important that you stay true to what you took a photo of and to not do so much to edit it, di ba? So, it's a documentation of reality. It's not a, parang, ay, gagawa ko to ng parang art, whatever. So, for documentation or architectural photography for that matter, so kailangan talaga accurate yung pinipicturean mo and you try to leave as much of what you saw as is. So, you can fiddle with the colors, pero you can be, for example, itong picture na to sa crap, I forgot where this is. But I think this is somewhere in Manila near Plaza, I forgot the name. But this is the one where, there's like that really nice looking BPI na parang palace. I forgot the name of that, parang somewhere in Santa Cruz or hindi ako masyadong maalam sa Manila
Plaza
geography.
Miranda ba? Hindi.
Ayun. Ay, wait.
Yeah.
Hindi Plaza Miranda.
I think
sa
that was
Quiapo
Santa
yun.
Cruz.
But besides in Manila,
Miranda.
and this was taken from the LRT. This was taken from the LRT. Siyempre, sabi mo, ay, ba't may mga tiyanggi-tiyanggi sa baba, di ba? Pero yun nga, I'm a documentation photographer. I have to leave that there. And yung subject ko, which is this particular building by, if I'm not mistaken, Pablo Antonio, is very iconic. So, it's an iconic modernist building. and I want to show it in its present context and how it's being used now. And for one, mahirap tanggalin yung mga tao sa baba, so parang guys, don't even bother, right? And at the same time kasi parang you're sanitizing the picture. That's not reality. Ito rin, so the next photo naman is a very good example of, showing scale as well as context. So now you know that the Magsaysay building is, ito yung location niya, and this is how it looks like in street level. Usually kasi yung mga buildings na pinipicture sila, like for example, like usually mga real estate developers for malls are very guilty of this. They super sanitize the context out of the photo na hindi mo pala alam na yung location ng particular development mo is somewhere weird, di ba? So parang for documentation photography, you can't do that, and you owe it to your viewers to tell them what the truth is. No matter what it is, no matter how ugly or how beautiful it is, you have to lay it there. And eto, I really like this picture that I took of EDSA when I did the photo walk 2 years ago. Guys, when you do this photo walk, be very careful and wear a mask. So this was before the pandemic, pero shit, the amount of pollution that you're like ingesting just walking along the sidewalk is crazy. So what I did here is I climbed one of the overpasses, and um, it I was able to get this really nice photograph in the parang late afternoon that basically illustrates the what the city's major thoroughfare is like. But it gives like a sort of um, like a character shot of what EDSA is on a particular type of day. So there you go. And I didn't sanitize anything. I didn't remove anything. I didn't clean anything or remove people and whatnot. And in a way, you can still find it still looks. I don't want to say beautiful because there's a lot of structural problems in here, or parang class problems in this particular picture, right? So, but let's not get into that. Pero at the same time, ayun nga, parang um, there is beauty in reality. You just really have to dig deep to find it. Wrong deep na. So finally, so you have, okay, ito na yung bonus tip. Have fun and open yourself up to surprises. So these 3 photos were not planned. So these ones were stuff that I was able to find lang while I was just walking around. So I didn't plan to shoot this particular building sa Makati, yung car park. Eh, nung naglalakad kasi ako, parang nakita ko ang ganda nung composition na you have this curved elements, and then you have this person, a scale. So parang I knew I just had to take a shot. So this particular building is also in Makati, and it had like a really huge tree in front of it. And people would probably say, ay, nakaharang yung puno doon sa building that I want to take a picture of. But it really made for really photogenic quality. So the glass facade of the building was able to like reflect wonderfully the tree in front of it. So I really love this photo kasi parang this is something that you'd think na parang sa city pa ba to? Sa Makati to? Saan to sa Makati? Yung mga ganong questions. And finally, this one is one I shot in BGC. This was actually shot when I was in a taxi. So what I did was I brought down the window when I saw this particular shot that I felt would make for a good photograph. Kasi parang all the lines seem to be converging at the center of the photograph na parang merong slice. And when I made it black and white pa, it made all the lines seem much more dynamic, much bolder. And it really made for something na parang, it's both an abstract image as well as, a factual image of reality. So images like this kasi parang I think really catches the eye of people when they view it. Yung ganitong mga play on lines and shadows. So, okay, that's it, guys. Those are all the tips that I can share to you. Walang subscribe button. So, ito na lang muna. So, these are my Instagram handles. So, isa na lang yung kulang bago ko ma-maximize yung linked accounts limit ng Instagram. So, you can, if you have questions, I'm very receptive towards questions. So, just message me on my personal Instagram account or any of the Instagram accounts here. And don't forget to visit canto.com.ph if bored kayo. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it, and I hope may natutunan kayo sa lahat ng mga pinagsasabi ko this afternoon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, of course, for making time for us today. I'm sure you're very busy. I'll get the ball rolling sa questions, no, in case na nag-iisip pa sila ng itatanong nila or ina-absorb pa nila yung information mo.
Sure.
But guys, just i-chat nyo lang dito sa Zoom or kung gusto nyo dun sa Facebook group natin or i-PM nyo kami here on Zoom or something. Ayan, okay. So we have Brian asking, what's usually is your setting when you are shooting? Ano daw setting?
Ay, magandang katanungan yan. Wala akong default setting. So, uh, every photographer have their own thing. So parang ako kasi, since documentation photography and street photography, gusto ko talaga parang on the fly, what they call this, wait lang, I'll just stop sharing. Gusto ko kasi on the fly yung pagkuha ko ng pictures. So parang, what they call this, what I do is I quickly go with the default setting of for example, yung phone na gamit ko. I go with that and just quickly do like adjustments in terms of brightness, contrast, and exposure. Sa camera naman, naka-auto mode lang din ako. Pero I think kasi parang, hindi naman sa dinedefend ko yung lack of knowledge ko when it comes to like tinkering with the settings of a camera. But more of, for me, what they call this, yung nakikita ko sa harapan ko may change in an instant. So I need to take photo of it before something happens. Kahit building yan. Kasi sometimes may biglang humarang na bus or may humarang na car or biglang dumilim yung lighting. So for me, speed is, I usually go with speed more than having a preset called like tinkering with the settings. And I'm not saying it's wrong to have settings. I mean, go do your thing. And if it allows you to take better photos by all means. But for me, yun nga, parang ang priority ko when I take the photo is yun nga, makuha ko siya agad before something happens. Yun lagi yung, may FOMO ako basically. FOMO yung mode ko for for every photo. Thanks for that question, Brian.
All right. So we have another question from April May. So sabi niya dun sa group chat, Sir, passion niyo po ba passion na po ba talaga kumuha ng litrato? Kailan nyo na yung parang when did you find out na yun yung passion mo? Or hilig mo gawin?
Here's a funny story. So, hindi talaga ako magaling mag-picture. At fun fact, pasmado kamay ko at shaky ang hands ko. I have like really shaky hands. So I'd actually make like a terrible photographer. So guys, medyo hinahinay sa
I can
kape.
attest to the shaky hand. Sorry, I just want to say that. Like, me and Patrick travel a lot together. And he, like, as in, guys, okay, so magpapapicture ako, like, anywhere. Like, we travel a lot together because we're really close friends, guys. Tapos, pagpapapicture ako sa Hong Kong, pipicturean ko siya sa tabi ng building, tapos maganda yung picture. Pag picture ko, Diyos ko, maalog. But it's okay. He's improved now. Nakita niyo mga pictures na pinakita niya sa inyo ngayon, diba? Like, talagang wow. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so yun nga, as Pat was saying, I have really shaky hands. Pero the fun, I think how I found out I like doing photography was when I was given in charge of Blueprint's Instagram account. Kasi before nun, as in literally wala akong training sa photography. As in, wala talaga. So when they when they put me in charge of the Instagram account, I knew I had to up my game in terms of like, how I curate visuals, how I take visuals. So looking at pictures of buildings in magazines and websites really honed my eye. It really helped me curate or parang decide what particular angles or how to frame or what particular light to depict spaces in. So parang basa lang kayo ng basa. Malaking help yung pagpabasa, pagtitingin ng mga, exposing yourself to yung subject na gusto nyong picturean. Just keep on, doing your research or looking at pictures and eventually ma-assimilate mo rin yung skill na yon. So I'd have to say it took me years to, like really get to this particular level. And even then, I think I still have, a lot to improve. So, just to clarify, yung day job ko talaga is graphic designer. So hindi ko full-time thing yung yung photography, but this is something that I really enjoy doing. And apparently, I mean, a lot of other people kind of like my photos as well. So may mga konting gigs na rin ako taking photos. And believe it or not, I use my phones to take some of these photos. And my clients like, what? Ano ma, wala na lang silang comment when I give them the photos. Kasi grabe, sobrang lapit na ng quality ng phone camera and DSLR. Sobrang onting-onti na lang, pantay na sila. So, yun nga, yung gusto ko rin
Yeah.
sabihin na parang hindi dahilan yung, oh, I won't be able to take good photos kasi I only have like an Oppo phone or I only have a Vivo phone or a My phone. That's not an excuse. So, yung pag-take ng magandang photos is in you. It's in your eye, it's in your mind. So, there. I hope I answered your question. So, yung sagot talaga is matagal. Matagal ko siya na-realize bago ko siya na-assimilate at bago ko siya na-decide na parang, okay, this is something I can do.
Yeah, I mentioned in the chat earlier, when you were showing the products you use for your like you showed your phones, no, kung ano yung mga ginagamit mo, what camera you use. I mentioned in the chat na I remember before gumamit ka pa nga ng Oppo, right? Or
Oo, mamit ako ng Oppo. And yung Oppo kasi yun yung mga medyo bata-bata pa si Oppo sa Pilipinas. Yung medyo konti pa rin ng phones nila and mababa pa yung megapixels. Pero ang nagustuhan ko kasi sa Oppo, ang ganda ng colors ng shots nila kahit medyo malabo. So, in a way, parang yung kahit malabo yung picture ko, yung composition and whatnot is still enough to like really grab attention to the photo that I took. So, ayun nga, parang wag kayong disheartened sa type of photo ay sa type of phone or camera that you have. Kasi darating din yung araw na makaka-afford ka na Samsung Galaxy Note or kumuha kayo ng Glow Post with Can para So ayun, the tools are important but they are not a deal breaker. The deal breaker here is yung passion mo or kung gusto mo talaga yung ginagawa mo. Yun. Guys, feel free to ask me questions. Basta wag anything on finance. Wala akong matutulong sa inyo.
wala kaming alam sa stocks, guys. So, kayo magtanong sa akin. I have a question actually
Go ahead.
while waiting for other questions. What's the difference between shooting food? Okay, context for everyone. So me and Patrick would also, like, we have joint clients then, no? Like we'd have rackets with other brands na I would style, he would do the art direction, another friend would take the photo. What's your experience na anong difference ng taking photos between food, people, and the buildings? Like, if you would compare.
Ang difference niyan is hindi ako marunong sa food at people at marunong ako sa building. Yun lang yung sagot ko doon. And I think this is a good thing kasi parang madalang yung photographer na maalam sa lahat ng tatlong bagay na yun. Kasi these three subjects take different types of skill sets, require different types of skill sets and eyes. So parang for me, I'd like to think na my eye kasi for buildings is, much better and much more reliable when it comes to like people or food. I mean, since dati ko naman trabaho is creative director, so kailangan medyo alam ko rin kung paano i-shoot yung food tsaka yung tao, di ba? Pero this is more, yun nga, I'm literally the eye, but I'm not the person taking the photo. So, iba yung skill set na kailangan for people photos and food photos. Sa food photos, you'll notice malaki yung role ng color. Napapansin mo sa pictures ko, they're mostly black and white, di ba? And this is because kasi the buildings naman are usually made out of geometric shapes. Sa food kasi, if you make your food photo black and white, hindi na siya mukhang masarap or parang ayaw mo na siyang kainin. Kasi parang, bakit mo ginawang black and white yung food photo mo, di ba? Kasi parang, parts of the attractions for food photos is yung color and yung texture. So, personally, medyo hirap pa ako when it comes to like color photography. So, I would say medyo mahina pa ako sa food, like how to angle or how to style. Like when you shoot photos of food, syempre iisipin mo rin yung plato, kung bagay ba siya dun sa colors of food, or kung yung sinushoot mo ba is, for example, chicken or ice cream or whatever. Kailangan mukha siyang nakakatakam, hindi na siya mukhang dry, or dapat yung ice cream mukha pa rin malamig, yung mga ganung bagay. Ang daming factors. Sa tao din, medyo mahina ako sa tao kasi, well, for one, I'm an introvert. So I really, ayoko talaga ng hilobilo sa tao. So medyo hindi ako masyado maalam sa mga poses and whatnot. And ibang skill set din ang kailangan dyan kasi unlike building, sa mga tao, marami silang pwedeng sabihin kung pangit yung pictures mo, di ba? So, you really need to bring out the best in every single individual that you take photos of. And that includes being sensitive to how shadows fall on one's face, or to how shadows fall on one's, what they call this, body, kung nakakapayat ba yung angle mo, kung ano yung best side ng tao, kung nade-distort ba yung mukha mo or whatever. So, maraming factors. And I would advise you guys na parang to choose one. I mean, you can be great in all, syempre. Pero choose one na gusto mong mag-improve ng sobra-sobra. Kasi para talagang mahasa yung eye mo for that particular subject matter and maging expert ka.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out as well, no, like that we have friends, like obviously me and Patrick, who do we work in the same industry? I think we do. I think
Yeah.
we do work in the same industry. So, like, sinisip parang ngayon, does it still apply? It's still, yeah, we still do. And you know, like you'll meet people in the industry na talagang they're stern na. Like, alam mong photographer tong tao na to, pero sasabihin niya, kunyari, sabihin sa kanya, uy, may restaurant ako na available, ay gusto magpa-photo shoot ng products ng pagkain. Like, these people would be stern and they would say, tao lang talaga sinushoot ko. Hindi ko kaya products, hindi ko kaya ganito. And I just want to point out na may ganun talaga, like that, because I think parang before I thought it was absurd because at least our training no in one mega before was, you know, if you're a photographer, you should at least know how all the, you know, how to shoot everything. Pero I've observed nga, honestly guys, like ang daling mag-shoot ng tao. I just wanna say that. Even if maraming masasabi yung mga tao, ang daling mag-shoot ng tao kasi pag sinabi mo sa tao, mag-smile ka, fierce, or alam mo yon, gusto ko mukhang Rabia, ganon. Madali siyang gayahin. Pero I'm telling you now, like with me and Patrick's experience with buildings, o kaya yung mga interior ng bahay, no? Like, hindi, paano mo sasabihin sa building na ngumiti siya, di ba? Paano mo
Oo.
sasabihin sa interiors ng bahay, 'di ba? Na parang o dapat fierce, 'di ba? So, walang direction doon and it's really harder. Like honestly, like yeah, alam naman ng mga students no, I do the retail shoots for makeup and products, pero iba yung level of skill that's required for architecture photography. That's why I also had, you know, Patrick to come in kasi it's really a unique field, no? Like, you'll really get trained na kailangan niya, like, straight lines and stuff. Okay, let's get to the other questions kasi ang daming tanong, PK.
Oo nga,
Okay,
go.
so, eto, Anonymous. How did you deal with your burnout since super pagod talaga ang architecture photogs? How did you deal with your burnout?
By taking more pictures of buildings. Just kidding. I think so far wala pa akong moment na nababurnout ako sa pag-take ng photos ng buildings. Pero meron siyang physical na kapalit syempre since syempre naglalakad ka sa tirik na araw, 'di ba? So kaya maitim ako na tao in person. And you'll notice I'm very thin in person kasi sobrang ang daming lakad na mangyayari diyan. So parang tipong mga 50,000 steps in the space of 6 hours yung mangyayari sa'yo. Like for example, I can confidently say na sa Makati CBD, naikot ko na yung Legazpi Village at Salcedo Village. Medyo kabisado ko na yung mga pasikot-sikot dyan kasi nailang ikot na ako sa kanya taking pictures of the buildings there. And yun nga, parang I think good exercise din yan. Like, you know, I mean, yung architectural photography, it's a good excuse for you to walk around and discover new places to shoot. Ayun. So I guess for burnout, so far, feeling ko hindi pa kasi siya masyado relevant sa akin kasi hindi ko pa siya na experience. Pero yun nga, I would advise na after you do like a really long, like a day long to walk, don't do another one the next day. Kasi parang give yourself, like mag-time first ka muna bago ka mag-imbon another session.
We have another question. Ito, like at everyone naman. So Mary Grace is asking, how do you educate yourself to take better pictures?
Okay. So, like a lot of people, yun nga, I started as someone who's like a complete novice when it comes to pictures. Like I didn't even know, like parang dati talagang pabara-bara lang ako ng mga pictures ko ng mga early days. Pero yun nga, as I mentioned a while ago, it helped kasi na parang I assigned myself already a subject that I want to concentrate, which is architecture. So, since alam ko na yung gusto kong picturean, parang I tailored fit the skill set that I needed to develop in order for me able to shoot architecture in the best way possible. So, since alam ko na yung gusto ko i-shoot, ano ba yung mga steps na kailangan kong ma-obtain dyan? So, how I did it is I basically looked and followed photographers. So, nag-tail ako ng mga real photographers for the day, so I can find out, how they frame pictures or how they do their setup and whatnot. I also, I read a lot of books with architectural photography in it to educate myself how to frame photos. Paano ba nila finrame yan? Bakit ganito yung angle na ginawa nila? So, you need to do a lot of research. You need to do a lot of reading. You need to do a lot of looking. Even a simple stroll in Pinterest. Kasi maghanap ka ng pegs na mga gusto mong post. Like the photos that really appeal to you. What characteristics of it do you like? And how would you say the photographer accomplished this particular execution? Paano nagawa yon? So, alam mo na yung gusto mong mangyari. So, all you need to do is to research and figure out how it's done. I hope I answered your question, Ray. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to add as well, actually, to what you mentioned. No, like aside from research, when it comes to like taking photos of houses and buildings, like ako, meron kaming tinatawag, like at least tayo, no, like us PK and the home and design team before, like yung mga buwis buhay shots. Like sometimes the best photos really come from the buwis buhay shots. Kasi, like I kid you not, like meron kaming photographers, like this was Mark. Pumunta kaming Tagaytay. And as in, nasa bangin na siya. As in, guys, like, onting, alam mo yun, like, itulak ko lang siya ng slide, nahulog na siya sa bangin. Pero, like, yun nga, because we want to take that money shot, diba? It takes a lot of effort. Like, sometimes, aakyat pa kami sa taas, hindi naman kami, yung mga photographer, no? Aakyat pa sila sa taas ng kotse, si Sir Ed to, like, umaakit sa mga kotse for some reason. Just to get the money shot, no? And
yes.
Yun nga, that's how you get the shots that no one else can. No, like with the, yan, minsan nasa puno. That's the only way you can get the shot. Other photographers can't. Kasi yun nga, kunyari, street view. Lahat naman kayo may access sa street view eh. Pero if you do the buwis buhay shots, yun, like, it'll lead to a unique photo. Ang dami nating questions. Okay, game. Let's go to Von's question. Kapag po cellphone ang gamit sa pag-picture, ano po? Ay, sige, go. Alin? Mauna na yon.
Yung susunod. Gusto ko siyang sagutin. Okay, I'll read it out na lang. Sige.
Okay, so kapag... Okay, I'll read it or you'll read it.
Sige, I'll read it na lang. So sa Jeromel Ann, good day po. Meron po ba kayong ma-share sa amin on how to hold our phone pagpasmado yung kamay to get good shot and angle po? Hey, thank you po. This is a very question kasi this is so relevant to me. What I do is when I take pictures of buildings, lagi ako naka-burst mode. Kasi alam kong aalog yung kamay ko eh. Kasi since yun nga, given na yung shaky yung hands ko. So I take a lot of buildings. So sometimes I have around 20 photos of the same thing. Tapos saka ko na lang hahanapin ko alin din yung pinaka-sharp. Also, I recently invested on a very cheap tripod from Lazada. So no excuse not to get one, right? So this tripod kasi is for both cameras and phones. So sobrang useful niya kasi dati parang struggle sa akin yung parang to obtain certain angles na steady since wala akong tripod. Pero after buying this tripod, sobrang na-maximize ko talaga yung potential niya agad. So, kasi it really helped me achieve shots that require a steady hand. Lalo na kung, for example, yung mga may motion blur effect or kaya yung may mga parang time-lapse, whatever. So you need like a steady hand for that, right? So excuse me, nasanid ako. So you need a tripod for that. Just like how the pro, they need the tripod for those particular types of angles. So in terms of like how to hold the phone, well, wala namang secret. pero I guess it helps to madalas nakocoveran yung camera when you're like super excited ka na mag-shoot, diba? So make sure na parang hold your phone usually I use both hands para stable talaga yung shot and hindi umalog masyado yung kamay ko. And also, yun nga, to stabilize the phone while the shot is being, para hindi mag mukhang blurred yung shot. So, ayun. I hope that helped. And wag kayo masyado magkape. Yun. Para hindi kayo, hindi masyado nanginig yung mga kamay nyo. Ayun.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to add to what he said, no? Like, get the
Aba,
stuff. Like, ito
may
parang
live
150
selling
lang
na
to sa
nagaganap.
Lazada. Ay, sa Shopee or something. Pamain po. Mine screenshot joke. Ayan. No, but really, screenshot niya po. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Di ba ganun sila? No, but really, no, like invest in it. Kasi parang meron na mga 150 lang ganun. I can't remember. Basta ito less than 500 to, guys. Like, as in parang mga 150 nga lang. Mag-invest kayo sa ganito. Like, ako, all my photos. Like, ito lang. Lalo na since I'm starting on video. Like, ito lang yung gamit ko. Tapos, like, alam mo, nag-extend siya and stuff. And I kid you not, nung panahon, ang mahal-mahal ng mga ganito. Pero, as in, photographer lang yung may ganito. As in, big deal pag may tripod ka. Pero parang ngayon, di ba? Super necessity. So, yun. But I think we have a question related to the grid lines and stuff.
Sige, go
So,
ahead.
the question above was asking actually, kapag po cellphone ang gamit sa pagpicture, ano po ang tamang angle ng object from the grid lines? Salamat po.
I'm not sure I can answer this properly. But what I can say though is very useful yung grid lines. I never remove it when I take pictures. Kahit tao. So kasi parang it quickly helps you find what the dominant horizontal is and dominant vertical is in a photo. So I would say wala namang tamang, like a specific tamang angle. Just that you take to mind that whatever you're shooting, yung dominant horizontal and vertical is nag-a-align siya dun sa grid lines na nakalapat dun sa screen mo. Kaya it's very helpful kasi na parang you really experiment with how you hold the phone kasi sometimes that is what will help you like align all these lines together. So ayun, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure if I answered your question satisfactorily. Right. Naku, ang dami yung tanong, guys.
I think it's because it depends per photo, no? Like whatever you're taking a photo on, I guess it depends.
I guess for food, hindi siya masyadong relevant. Pero pag for example, yung mga symmetry shots nyo na gusto gawin, kailangan naka-align-align yung mga bagay-bagay. Or kaya architecture, kailangan naka-align-align. Or yung mga street photography, whatever. Yun. Relevant siya.
Okay. I have a question na anonymous. Okay, so let's go to this one. How would you rate your photography skills and what do you consider?
May kasunod ba yung dulo? What do you consider?
Wala. What do you consider po? Actually, nagtaka din tuloy ako nung binasa ko. To the sender, please continue your sentence.
Grabe, the question is so challenging to answer. How do I grade myself? 0. Just kidding. I would say I am an 8. I can confidently say now, after siguro mga 4 or 5 years of taking photos, that I take decent photos. Pero yun nga, I consider myself a hobby photographer. I saw a question a while ago about speed settings and shutter speed and whatnot. Guys, I'm so sorry, wala akong alam sa mga ganyan. Kasi really, as in, I'm the type of photographer na I grab the camera, I take a picture. That's it. So, I'm so sorry, hindi ko masasagot yung tanong niya. Pero yun nga, kaya ako 8 binigay sa sarili ko kasi I know I can take good photos and I can frame good photos, but I lack the necessary yung parang professional skill set to graduate from being a hobby photographer to becoming, a professional photographer. And I think naman I'm okay with that kasi parang ayoko na graphic designer naman ako. I think this is something that I want to concentrate in. So being a professional photographer is something that I can let go of, and it's okay for me to be a hobby photographer lang. I guess this is one thing also that can help you guys is you need to know what you want to focus on. Hindi pwede magaling sa lahat ng bagay. I mean, kung kaya mo, they go. Pero syempre, it's good to know a lot of things, pero it's much, much better if you're the expert on a certain thing that only you can do.
just want to say, like Patrick, I think out of all the people I know, like Patrick is really like a jack of all trades. Like he knows how to write. As in, guys, like he knows everything. Like I swear to God, like student, like he was such a different person when I met you, no? Para before you would just lay out stuff. Tapos talagang like, I don't know, what can I reference it to? Like as in, like I think cheesy, but we're friends anyway. But Patrick's really like a student of the world. Like I've seen him, from I don't know anong reference point ko. Basically, he's flourished as a person. That's my point. But ayun, okay. So, tong question na to, alam ko na ibig niya sabihin. So, di ba tinanong niya una, um, how to rate your photography skills. Ang stupid natin, PK. Ang ibig niya sabihin is how much pricing.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. I'm out of here. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Nako, medyo complicated question yan kasi I'm not sure I can
No,
say
it's my
the
fault. It's my
actual
fault too. I didn't,
uh, pero I'm not sure kasi I can share the actual rates. Pero what I do kasi is since yun nga, I'm not a real photographer. Pero there are some people who want to hire me for photography. So what I do is I lower down my fees kasi para I think they're not getting the same amount of skills and whatever from a real photographer. So parang ano na rin yan. I guess less pressure sa akin. um, pero yun nga, I think relevant din naman yung sagot natin kanina, Pat. You need to know first what you're capable of. So if you think your photography is a 10, then your pricing has to match your skill set, 'di ba? So kung 8 yung sa akin, di dapat parang 8 din yung pricing ko. So ganun. Hindi 8,000 ha, 8. Parang yung basta match dun sa quality na 8 yung pricing. Ayun.
I'll answer the question dun sa pricing, I think. I'll add, it depends, I think, on, like, one of the factors, like, I just want to say as well, aside from, like, yung skills mo, consider mo rin, anong hinihingi niya. Kasi, anong hinihingi ng client? Kasi, usually, per layout, di ba, ang presyo. Hindi naman pwedeng, meron ding ibang presyo, whole day. O, sige, whole day, pipicturean ko yan lahat for you. Meron ding iba, like 10 layouts lang, tas 5 hours, 10 layouts in 5 hours, may mga ganon. So it also depends kung ano yung hinihinging output ng client. Kasi doon kayo magre-rate ng presyohan. And anong coverage nun? Magdadala ba ako ng ilaw? Magdadala ba ako ng tripod? Alam mo yon, lahat ba ng equipment sa akin? Kasi kung ganon, pwede kang mag-up ng price mo. And pati yung editing, sa akin pa rin ba yung editing or yung raw photos lang? Yun, like makakabawas yun sa price, syempre. Or yun nga, kung additional skill mo yun, you can add it on your price rate. But yeah, definitely, meron kasi dito PM nga na, what if friends daw? Or kakilala, or location, ganon. Of course, pag location, ano man ginagawa natin, PK, pag location? Gas.
Oo, gas.
Gas
Kailangan i-factor in
allowance.
yung gas. Pagkain, minsan kung afford nila. Pag friends naman, what I would advise to you for friends, if close na close kayo, sige go, maglibrehan kayo or bigyan mo ng friend fee. Pero, ito rin, parang I guess this is a tip for you to find who your real friends are. Your real friends will value what you're bringing to the table. So, your friend will appreciate yung skill set mo and will pay. Will pay for what you can do. So, kung puro libre-libre yung ang ng friends mo, na baka kailangan mo na siyang i-unfriend. Just kidding. Pero yun nga, parang um, I think this is also good practice for you to, yun nga, parang hindi rin masyado. Kasi kung puro friend price, ano na nakikitain nyo, guys, di ba? So, medyo mahirap ang panahon na ngayon. So, if you know your worth, you really have to charge them what you're worth.
May additional follow-up with that, no? Is
Sige,
it a
go.
good business to start? Kasi nga we're talking about the rates, presyohan. Is photography a good business to start with?
For me, yes. In demand ang photography ngayon, as you can see from, like for example, yung mga digital whatevers ngayon, digital marketing, whatever, TikTok, whatever. But at the end of the day, they all start with images and visuals. Malaki yung market ngayon ng visuals. So if you know how to do photography, I'd like to think that you have a good chance of succeeding. So, but before you start your business, as I mentioned a while ago, you have to be first sure, ito na ba yung pinaka-best mo na, wag ka lang mag-start ng business because you know the basics of photography ha. Kasi you also owe it to your clients to offer them your best. So, when you start a business, you have to be at your, what I would say, your parang optimum performance ka na dapat. Ako, I only opened myself up to these photography gigs when I thought I can take, better pictures. So before that, sabi ko, wag muna. Kasi parang gang Instagram lang naman to mga pinipicture ko eh. Parang baka ma-disappoint ka. I want to train myself more and practice more. So if you hire me in the future, I can give you what what you want at my best possible performance. So yun.
Gets. Yeah, I think it's a good business to start now, lalo na with the small businesses is popping up. Hindi sila marunong mag-take ng photos, no? So you can leverage on that, no? And offer your services if you're good. I think we'll go quickly to Russell's question, which is in the group chat naman. What is shutter speed? Like, I think you answered that. Now we don't know what it is.
Naka-auto ako. So wala siya. Hindi ko pinapansin yung shutter speed. Pero good on you that you know this. This is very good. So you're on the right track. Wag mo kung Don't follow my example. So yes, go ahead. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Sobrang
I
nangyayari
think
naman ako, Pat.
I agree with what do you call this? Like what you said kanina actually earlier na ang liit na lang ng difference ng mobile camera at ng DSLR, no? Like I agree with that so much kasi merong times na we would travel together, Patrick, and I remember ang dala ko na lang minsan nga before was my phone eh. Parang kayo lang talaga yung mga may camera, ako parang cellphone na lang kasi parang it functions the same din naman. So yeah, but okay, we have a question here. Pang Miss Universe tong tanong na to, handa ka na ba? Whose work has influenced you?
Okay. Madami, sobrang dami. Pero I think one creative that really influenced me like recently is you can quickly Google this guy, Fan Ho. So it's spelled FENHO. So this guy, he's a Hong Kong photographer and he's already dead because he's kind of old already. He took pictures of Hong Kong way back in the 50s and the 60s using like a really primitive camera, and grabe the shots are amazing. It's so hard to describe kasi parang napaka ethereal ng scenes. You wouldn't know that he's taking pictures of Hong Kong kasi parang napaka cinematic ng mga scenes na nakuhanan niya. So sobrang na-inspire ako sa photos niya, and parang yun yung parang goal ko ngayon to enable some of my shots to have that sort of atmosphere in my photos. Kasi yun nga, my priority kasi ngayon is documentation photography, so wala masyadong opportunities to do that. Pero for architectural photography, when you add in atmosphere, sobrang laking enhancement yun sa enjoyment of people looking at your photos. Kasi parang they don't just look at architecture, but they really feel how the architecture is in a certain place. So yun, Google nyo guys. Ang ganda ng mga pictures ni Fan Ho.
Okay. Okay, next we have another question. What is the best advice you have for a new photographer?
Okay. The best advice that I can give for a new photographer is don't stop taking pictures. Don't be disheartened when what you're taking pictures of aren't turning out the way you want it. Kasi everyone's gonna go through that same thing. Promise. I've gone through it. So, just keep on taking pictures. Magugulat ka na lang one day na parang, oh wow, kaya ko na pala ng ganito, or I can achieve this particular execution already. And just by the sheer amount of times that you try, the amount of times that you try can also lead you to learning it. So just keep on trying, just keep on taking pictures, and don't compare yourself muna to dun sa mga ibang photographers na iniidolo mo. Wala pa tayo sa level niya. So small steps, okay yung small steps kaysa yung parang don't expect na parang you're at this point tapos bukas ganito ka na dito ka na sa point na to, kasi that doesn't happen. So you really have to go the long route and like really work your way up. And I'd have to say na mas rewarding kasi kung ganun yung journey mo. Kasi since mas nagre-rest yung learning since you really worked hard to learn those things.
Yeah, I agree with that completely as well. Like the saying na all masters were once beginners. So, yeah, I think this one naman, we have another question. I'm not sure if you can answer, but I'll help you if ever. How do you make people comfortable in front of the camera?
Dapat si Pat ang tanungin mo dyan. Siya yung mga humaharap sa artista. Sige, I'll answer it to what I, like what I can, based on
Uh,
experience.
you first.
Sige. Yun nga, since I was the creative director of Blueprint before, siya unavoidable that I will be art directing people as well. And as I mentioned, I'm really bad with, I'm actually really bad at making people comfortable. Pero what I do kasi is I try to talk to them, to find out what their interests are, and you treat them, ito pala, wag papadala sa takot or wag pa magpapadala sa what they call, madodont sa kanila. Kahit artista pa yan. Just think of them as a human being. Kasi once you start thinking of them as a sort of God, maapektuhan na yung perspective of how you take pictures of that person. And mafe-feel mo na parang napaka-inferior mo and whatever. You must always tell yourself that you guys are equals kasi you guys are both working towards goal, which is a good photograph, right? So you guys are collaborators. As much as you are the photographer and that person is your subject.
Okay. I can add to that definitely. With working with celebrities, actually that's the thing I've noticed. No, yun yung difference ng celebrities versus us. You don't need to make them comfortable. Like I tell you, ibibigay mo lang sa kanya, ito yung photos na kailangan from you. Alam na nila kung anong gagawin. Like that's how professional they are. And ang funny doon kasi is, like, especially with the big celebrities, no, like Alden, Sir Gabby, sila pa yung mag-e-effort to make you feel comfortable. Like, as in, syempre before COVID, no, chummy-chummy yan. As in, touchy sila, like, wahag ka nila, bebeso ka nila. And they're very, how do you call this? You won't feel it, honestly. Like, there's celebrities na hindi mo mararamdaman yung ere. And actually, sila pala talaga yung mag-e-effort na to make you comfortable. And one of the secrets actually that we have as well is kumain muna kayo before the shoot. Syempre ngayon, hindi na yun pwede. Hindi na pwede kumain together. Pero before, that's what we would do, no? Before the shoot, or mag-snacks kayo and just sit down and just talk. No? Like, anong bago sa'yo? Ganon. And it gets kasi on the, parang it levels the vibe, no? Kasama yung photographer, kasama ko sa lamesa, kakain kami with the artista or something, or merienda or coffee. And may brief through naman usually, pagdating dyan sa mga shoots na ganong kalaki, no? Meron ng shoot list. Alam na nila yan. Alam na ng artista yan na ito yung kailangan gawin. Ito yung mga photos expected, di ba? And when it comes to making people comfortable then, mag-play kayo ng music. Kasi, ang laking difference ng music. And the music, kailangan naka-vibe ba? Kunyari, kung gusto nyo fierce yung shoot, kailangan yung music fierce din. Hindi siya pwedeng classical music na relax, diba? So, music plays a huge part in it. I was surprised actually. Akala mo yung music pang entertain lang. Pero really, the photographers that I know then, they have their own playlist, no? Na different moods para makuha nung model kung ano yung pinapagawa mo sa kanila. So, yeah, bring a playlist and kailangan yung playlist nyo ka-match dun sa like peg na gusto nyong output. So, that helps. And what else? Usually, yeah, pag artista and professional, as in, wala ka talaga masasabi. Like, bigay mo lang yung pegs na gusto mo, alam na nila. Like, as in, minsan one take nga eh. Parang pag pinatayo mo dun yung artista, okay na. Like, you get this a lot with Alden, Mateo, and Gabby. Actually, surprisingly, Gabby Concepcion. Super timeless. Like, ang galing maka-pick up ng direction. So, yon, like, those are some tips. We have a question here. Nasa na, wait. I think natanong na to kanina, but how did you know that you're into architecture and documentary photography industry? Did I ask that na?
Ano yung question? Sorry. Which one? Sorry, Pat?
Sorry. How did you know that you're into architecture and photography and documentary photography industry?
Parang hindi pa, pero it's just, parang it sounds like a similar question I answered a while ago. Mm-hmm. So I think I answered that na rin in a way. Natawa ko dito sa isang tanong about TikTok. Guys, wala akong TikTok ha. So, kung may TikTok concern kayo, hindi ko siya masasagot. Ginamit ko lang siyang example.
Wala pa ako dyan.
Just sa chat. Ginamit ko lang siyang example. Kasi ngayon parang...
Baka PM yan sa'yo. Okay. Baka it's a direct message to you.
PM siya. Sorry. I don't know kasi, guys, sobrang bano ako sa Zoom. Sobrang bago-bago pa ako dito. So, hindi... Yung ibang questions pala dito is sa akin lang pala ako lang pala nakakita. Okay. Okay, sige.
Yeah, I won't see them. So you can answer them. Just share the question.
Okay.
Don't mention their name na lang, kaya they direct message to kasi they don't want to be mentioned.
Oh
na ganun,
so,
blind
sorry.
item.
Okay, ito na lang. So since po nasa architecture photography industry, okay, I think this one is what you read, right? Ano pa po yung mga future goals nyo? Okay, so, that's a nice question. I mean, always, parang, one should always be future oriented when it comes to these things. Kasi parang, it always helps for you to have a sort of end goal or an end game in mind for everything that you do, lalo na pag you're in the creative industry. So, ano pa mga future goals ko? Yumaman. Just kidding. Hindi pala just kidding. Gusto ko lang yumaman, syempre. Gusto ko pa syempre mag-improve sa photography. Feeling ko ang dami ko pang kailangan matutunan. And who knows, baka naman there will come a time na parang I really consider it as an alternative career path. Also, I want to study more since ayun nga, I'm taking up brutalist architecture as my advocacy. I want to study more about the subject matter. So I'm actually considering applying to a university again next year, hopefully when things stabilize, to take up master's. So gusto ko rin mag-aral ulit and to learn about these things. Kasi parang malaki din yung pinapasan mo na responsibility on your shoulder for advocacy heavy projects such as this. Kasi people look to you as a sort of authority or as a source of information that they need. So the information that you provide to them have to be something that they can refer to anytime, and it's something that is true, of course, and it's something that can be dependent on and is backed up by the right sources. Ayun. So those are two immediate, parang near future goals that I have in mind. Okay guys, sorry, baka kasi hinahanap na ako sa work. So I have time for around 2 more questions siguro. Nagana lang ako sa work, tumakas lang ako.
Do you want to pick from your questions?
No. You pick para ano yung.
Okay. Sige, I have one here. How or why did you fall in love po sa pag-take ng pictures ng mga buildings? Is it because of the backstory po ba of the building, or because it's old, or due to the design po ba?
Oh, okay. So the answer to that question is all of the above. Kasi parang syempre, it's like when you meet a person, di ba? Parang when you meet a person, sometimes yung mga tao na parang alam mo na when you first meet them na hindi kami magkakasundo nito or whatever. So it's necessary to get to know the person just as it is necessary to get to know your building. So all aspect of the buildings excite me. So the history, the design, how it is being used today, all these things coalesce together to form an image or the character of the building. So for me, my appreciation of a structure is multifaceted, and it's not just limited to design most of the time. O yan, one question na lang, guys.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. May one last question tayo. But guys, just PM me your questions. PK, sorry, I'll PM it to you then. Kasi minsan nahihiya sila. Sometimes na yung ganong instances. So I know I just told you quickly from work. So, ayan, okay, we have one last question. Can you make this second to the last? I have a question. Pero mabilisan daw. Are you open po ba for food photography? Open for other opportunities? Mag-photograph ng mga models like celeb?
Ako food, sige. Kasi may ako kumain. Kahit mapayat ako, sobrang hilig ko ng food. Pero celeb siguro hindi. Kasi parang mahihayin akong tao and I'm not, it's just not my forte and I don't think I'll do a great job. Though I did have one experience taking a photo, art directing a photo shoot of a celeb. Sila Andre Paras tsaka si Kobe Paras in their house. So, na-art direct ko na sila before. And mabait naman sila, pero at the same time, parang na-realize ko na ayokong mag-photograph na artista. This is so not my thing. So, ayun. So, yun nga. Sure na ako na parang I'll probably stay with architectural photography, but maybe food photography is something that I can still uh, practice on. I mean, syempre pagkatapos ng food photography, kakainin nyo yun, di ba? Isn't that like a good benefit to have?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to point that out nga. Like, a lot of us like the food photography. Kasi pagkatapos nun, guys, pwede nyo nang kainin yung pagkain.
Oo.
Kasi hindi na yun babalik sa
Oo,
kusina.
hindi na.
Kasi pag like, lalo na osa, like, pag dumating na yun sa stylist at dumating na yun sa photographer, kinakalikot na namin yun. Like, kung ano-ano nang dinadagdag namin. There's secrets, no? You add extra oil to make it look better and stuff. So, may mga ganon. But yeah, guys, just follow his Instagram. I swear, like look for Brutalist Filipinos on Instagram and follow it because there's a huge advocacy nga behind it. No, it's not just beautiful buildings; it's helping preserve no itong mga building na akala nyo ang pangit-pangit pero hindi nyo alam ang laki pala ng history behind it. And you know, you see it along like just walk around Manila. The Capitol building was just ruined.
Yeah.
Kailan ba 2 weeks ago, I think, or was it last month?
It was last month.
Sorry, last na to, PK. Last question. Promise, we'll let you go after. What's the most basic thing about graphic design? They want to discover this in the near future. So, ano yung basic about graphic design that you can share?
Nako, hirap ng tanong na yan. Kasi parang medyo it's a very general question. But for me, first and foremost, for you to pursue graphic design, you don't need to know how to draw. Yun yung misconception eh. Parang, ay, hindi ako pwede maging graphic designer, hindi ako marunong mag-drawing. That's not true. I think the biggest thing, the most important thing one needs to know about graphic design is it's something that you do to solve a problem. So hindi lang siya ganda basically. It's form following function. It's form serving a purpose. So when you design something, what do you call this? Kaya na pinagkaiba ng graphic design sa art. Kasi yung art, it is created to to be viewed and to be viewed na parang for enjoyment or for appreciation. In a way kasi parang hindi siya useful. Wala siyang utilitarian function si art. Pero si graphic design kasi is, I would say it's sort of art but with, yun nga, if you add function to it, ayun, it's now graphic design. So for example, like packaging brand or the creation of logos or brand identity or yung mga signages sa malls, these are examples of graphic design that serve a purpose or that serve a function. And you'll notice all of them, they look pretty, sure, and they look nice and appealing and whatnot. Pero beyond that, they have a purpose for being, which is to help solve a problem. So for example, wayfinding, it's to help people determine, like for example, saan yung CR sa mall, di ba? Parang you guys take this for granted. Pero napaka laking ng role ng graphic designer in trying to communicate these things to mall goers, for example. Or for example, sa brand identity, gawa-gawa ka ng logo. So malaki yung responsibility ng graphic designer to balance, like for example, the quality or the character of a certain company who wants a new logo dun sa gagawin niyang logo. So he needs to like consolidate all those things into one graphic. So yun, I guess I hope I answered your question somewhat.
All right, so I think we are okay for today, guys. Like, ang dami nilang
Oo,
tanong.
guys,
But that's great,
overtime
that's great.
tayo. No, I really appreciate, I really love it when people,
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. Kasi parang at least nalalaman ko na nakinig kayo, di ba? So, hindi niyo malalaman mga kasagutan sa isip niyo kung hindi niyo siya tatanong. So, just don't be afraid to ask questions. Okay,
Yeah, that's
ngayon lang
true.
medyo stop na tayo kasi kailangan ko na bumalik sa office. Pero thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, PK. Feel free to like yeah, yeah. Bye, PK. Thank you for joining us. I'll
Okay,
PM you.
bye.
I'll PM you na
Parang
lang.
napaka-abrupt naman ng
You
ano.
know where
Sige,
to find
bye.
me.
Bye,
I'll PM
guys.
you. I'll PM you.
Okay, bye.
um, I know.
Baka may
I don't
pakis
want to
na.
keep you long, but
Sige,
thank you,
sige.
PK. For the
Thank you
students,
very
please stay
much.
for some reminders lang.
Sige. Thank you very much, everyone.
Make my
Bye.
quiz joke.
May pa-quiz
Yeah.
pala. Okay, galingan nyo. Bye.
All right. Thanks, PK.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so guys, yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's little chat no with Patrick. He is one of my closest friends. As usual, we'll do the what did you learn no from today talk thing, and I'll send the link for the quiz and the yung what did you learn from Patrick um in the Facebook groups. Pero let me know if you guys also have other questions and what have you. Yung nagtanong for the TikTok, you can send it here if you want. I think yeah, because I really just borrowed no Patrick from I just borrowed him from work. So actually sabi ko mabilis lang pero you know like he likes doing these talks naman then and getting to answer a lot of queries no from people. So do you guys have other questions as well because actually kami ni Patrick partner tandem talaga kami when it comes to like our clients no. So minsan there would be restaurants, plant ang tawag dito, yung mga plant store, no, kino-contact nila kami. Furniture stuff, kino-contact nila kami for photography. The format is, no, if you guys want to know, which I think kasi may mga interested mag-start din ng sarili nilang photography business dito. Usually, no, pag hinire kami, Patrick would be the art director, I would style, and then may photographer pa. So, team of 3 kami, hindi lang siya photographer, no? So, kung gusto niyo ng magagandang images, minsan may photographer na magaling lang siya mag-shoot, pero hindi siya marunong mag-style. So, pag sinabi nating style, ang ibig sabihin nun, yung paglalagay ng mga props together, no? So, I wanted to prepare that today as well, pero we'll just talk about it briefly. I'll make a cheat sheet, no, for everyone on it. Pero honestly, ang daming references no online. Ganun lang din kami ni PK, ganun lang din talaga kami natuto mag-style and mag-shoot ng stuff, no. Just really, you know, Google's your best friend. YouTube tutorials are your best friend. So just check those out. Pero for us, what works usually is, yun nga, like team of 3, may photographer, art director, which is Patrick. And then, so si Patrick, basically, siya yung mag-a-angle ng camera kung saan siya. The photographer would set the settings, no? Like the shutter speed, okay ba yung ilaw, kailangan ba siya magpatong-patong ng mga photos kasi may ganon na element. And me, as a stylist, ang gagawin ko, aayusin ko yung shot, no? So, take for example, kung bahay yan, no? Kung I'm sure members din kayo ng Homebodies. Kung bahay yan, lahat kami usually we ask for photos beforehand, no? Bago kami pumunta sa bahay, bago mag-photoshoot, hihingi kami ng pictures to see kung kulang, no? Kung may butas yung bahay in terms of accessories. So, kunyari, kulang siya ng kandila o kaya yung mga blanket, magandang throw pillow. Yun yung mga dadalhin ko as a stylist. Oo, yeah, Homebody Sampas Lupa Edition. Sumali din ako dyan, no, nakakatawa. Pinapalayas nila yung mga may air fryer. Ayan, so kailangan lumayas na ako sa group na yon. Kasi hindi daw tunay na hampas lupa. But styling naman, I think I'll try to allocate time for it, no? Because I was hoping Patrick would talk about it. Pero he went for a different, like, you know, really his, I wouldn't say his purpose, pero really, you know, like that's his passion talaga, the advocacy to preserve these buildings, no? Na usually sa mga mata natin, pangit, pero hindi natin alam, you know, napakaganda nila, ang rich ng history behind them. So that's what he focused on. But I'll find the time for to help you guys know how to style. Pero, yeah, so yun yung, please mute. Ayan, okay. Ay, hindi siya na-mute. Who is this? Okay, yan. But yeah, just style your shots. I actually have been going through some of your homework naman. Ang dami kasi, syempre kasi individual work, so ang daming mga na-send. I'll get to those naman very soon. But let me know if you guys have questions as well about shooting people. Kasi, yeah, Patrick focuses on food, products, and architecture. Actually, architecture talaga yung main niya. Pero kaya niya rin yung food tsaka yung iba. But when it comes to like the direction or like when it comes to the people side, parang I would say nga, I know a bit more about it. Dun sa nagtanong kanina, how you get them comfortable, no, yung model nyo, mag-play kayo ng music. As in, ang laking difference nung nami-make niya. And minsan actually, if you work with a professional model, may dala na silang music. Sarili na lang music. May sarili na silang playlist, no? To pump them up. Kasi nakikita yon sa photo, surprisingly. As in, pag walang music, parang patay na patay yung mga tao. Pero pag may music, it changes the vibe in the shoot. And prepare a shoot list, no, for your model. Hindi pwedeng, model, punta ka dito, tas shoot na lang, no? You have to prepare beforehand. And kasama yon sa kontrata nyo. No, you tell model na, ito, like, 5 layouts, 5,000. Tapos, like, 1 hour, ganon. It's sort of the same, though, with contracting yung mga influencers nyo. No, pag nag-contact kayo ng influencer, specify the parameters, meron bang exclusivity, di ba? Hanggang kailan gagamitin yung photos. Kasi may mga ganon na, like, especially yung mga artista and micro-influencers, no? Like, i-specify nyo, gamitin lang yung photos na to for this period of time. The shorter the period of time, the cheaper it should be. Pero usually 3 months, 6 months ang duration ngayon. Unless gusto nyo, kami, we love Alden and Boardwalk, so 1 year yan. Kylene Alcantara, for Cray. So I think, matagal na siyang pa 1 year sa amin. Pero si Alden usually parang mga 2 years. Or like the bigger celebrities, ganon. So you'll tie them in, may mga ganon. And kasama yun nga sa contract, you have to mention na, depends on the deal, no? Again, it depends kung ano yung mabargain nyo dun sa talent nyo, or yung model na ka-work nyo. But specify, no? Like, these photos will be used for Instagram, Facebook, packaging. Minsan kasi pwede mo ring gamitin sa store. Kung may physical store ka o kasama ka dun sa menu board, nandun ka sa menu ng store, you have to specify those in your contract. And, of course, gawin na naman nating makatarungan, no? Islagay nyo kung ilang oras siya magtatrabaho to also protect, you and the other party na kasi minsan talaga may mga shoots, no? Lalo na pag hindi nyo makuha yung shot, yung money shot, nag-e-extend yan. And meron talaga magko-complain na 8 hours lang ang napag-usapan, di ba? Hindi na pwedeng mag-extend. But yun, that's why you have to have the contract beforehand. So, kung gusto nyo mag-shoot with a model, no? Like, i-specify nyo na 8 hours yung shoot, ito yung rate, ito yung layouts na makukuha. Right? And usually naman, again, if you work with a professional model, sometimes, kahit magdala ka ng peg, merong mga model na prepared na talaga sila. May baon sila. Hindi na pagkain. May baon silang mga looks. As in, meron akong, what do you call this? Meron akong model noon, no? Prepared ako. Ang dami kong peg. Like, ito yung gagawin niya, ganon. And because this girl knows her face so well, no? Hindi niya sinundan yung mga pegs, pero ang ganda ng mga pictures. Kasi, nagtatanong naman siya, pwede ko bang gawin to? Can I do this? Can I try this pose? She's a model for Mac that we used for Cray. And yun, marami siyang baon, And if some of you also want to explore, no, yung pagiging influencer, pagiging model, mag-practice na kayo magbaon ng mga pose. Kasi doon mai-impress yung mga clients, no? Na ang galing, hindi kailangan ng direction, hindi ko kailangan turuan, alam niya kung anong gagawin niya. Right? Yeah. Those are the stuff I can share, I guess, when it comes to shooting with people. And yeah, just get a good photographer and a good videographer that require minimal direction. Pwede rin kayo mag-pre-prod. So, ito, favorite ko yan. As in, kilalang kilala ako sa industry. Ako yung makulit mag-pre-prod. Mag-pre-prod tayo ng 3 beses. naka-work nyo ko, like gusto ko pre-prod to make sure na walang lulusot, no? Like, everyone's on the same page. Ang ibig sabihin ng pre-prod sa industriya, Tagalog. Yung sabihin ng pre-prod is basically aligning everyone, no? Having everyone in the same room, lalatag nyo sa kanila yung shoot list. Yung shoot list, kompleto yan. Like, angle, full body, half body left, body right. May mga ganon. Tapos gagawa kayo ng listahan na yon. And i-check nyo yun, no? Para makita nyo, okay, kompleto. And it also goes back to making your content character. Kasi doon nyo makikita. Like ako, especially pag artista yung katrabaho nyo, pag na-in nyo ng isang araw, kunyari, Alden, 8 hours, ilista nyo na lahat ng kayo nyo gawin kasi mahirap makakuha ng slot kay kuya. So, minsan, I would already prepare 3 months worth of content within 8 hours. Kaya naman yon basta you have a good team, no, na palit ng damit si Alden. Yeah. Actually, mas madaling ka-work kasi yung mga girls, honestly, minsan matagal pag magpapalit ng stuff, no? And even the makeup, magpapalit-palitan kayo ng makeup para syempre mag-iba yung makeup look niya. Pero when it comes to photo shoot ng mga boys, ang dali lang. Kasi kahit sa dire-diretso, doon na sila mag-ubad. Next. Perks of the job, no? Ako yung isa sa mga unang nakakita sa abs ni Alden before siya, nung nag-audition siya for Century 2 na last year. And yan, like, andali, like, but yun nga, with girls, syempre, they can't just take their clothes off, no, on the spot. They have to go change, takes time. Even the makeup nga, kailangan papalitan din. Kasi syempre, alangan namang parehas lang yung makeup niya forever for all the looks. But for boys, yun nga, minsan hair lang ang papalitan. And yeah, mabilis sila magpalit. Yeah, so there. What else? What else can I share about shooting stuff? Honestly, I think Patrick nailed down naman a lot of the points, no? Kailangan din talaga you come in prepared, no? When you go to a shoot, kailangan talaga, as in, I can't find my clipboard now. Pero before, if I go into shoots, may clipboard ako, may checklist yon. Okay, na-shoot na to. Itong linggo ng May, na-shoot na. Okay, lahat ng mga items. I-checklist nyo siya. Honestly, walang nagturo sa akin doon. Parang instinct mo na lang, no, as a content strategist, na syempre, nasa sayo ng artista, hindi naman pwedeng, ay, kulang pa po. Kasi ang mahal mag-book ng artista, ang mahal mag-book ng talent. And lalo na if you're getting these big celebrities, wala silang oras most of the time. So if you have the artista with you, no, make the most out of it. Make the most out of the time you have with them. Or the model that you have. Lalo na ngayon, no, pag COVID, ngayong COVID season, alam ko pag nagpa-photo shoot, kailangan may swab test muna. Or naka-lockdown sila, no? Like some of my friends na nag-videotaping, naka-lockdown na sila dun sa one area, no? Like sila Yasser Marta, naka-lockdown na sila somewhere in Laguna or whatever, kung saan man sila nag-shooting. And doon na sila for like 3 months, no? And they also get swabbed often. But yeah, before it would still be hard to book these talents. But they come prepared. I just want, like, it's not like how they show you in the America's Next Top Model, 'di ba? Na parang ilang shoots, ilang click ang kailangan para makuha yung shot. Like some celebrities really come in, they're very professional. They ask for the shoot list then in advance kasi they practice, no, the looks that they want. Sometimes they send it to you like, okay ba tong post na to? Ito ba yung hinahanap nyo? I usually get that with Sir Gabby Concepcion. Honestly, one of the most professional artistas out there. And yeah, like, like it's just really a matter of shoot list pagdating sa pag-photo shoot ng mga, actually everything, products and even artistas or models, ganon. Kailangan may shoot list kayo. And come in with pegs. I'm trying to look if I have kung meron ako ng mga shoot list products ko ngayon, pero I don't have list. Pero may clipboard ako yon. Every time na may shoot, may clipboard ako. Lahat ng peg nandun. Lahat ng anong araw tatakbo yung photo na yon, nandun sa listahan na yon. There would be times kasi na makakaligtaan yon. And ang hirap, syempre, you can't book another photo shoot. So, yeah, you need to have everything in one go. What else? May mga tanong pa ba kayo about like shooting stuff? When it comes to makeup naman, I think a lot of you did the makeup and skincare, no? There, okay. A lot of you did the skincare, tsaka yung, oh my God, hindi tayo nagpicture with Patrick. Tol. Okay, never mind. I took Instagram stories naman. That's so sad. Oh well, I don't want to get him from work. Oh, I forgot. Okay. What was I saying? Okay, when it comes to shooting food, fashion, what we're talking about, beauty, no, skincare and makeup, it pays to work with a good makeup artist, okay, para super less editing, tsaka yung model nyo, pwede nyo namang piliin yung model beforehand, right? Hindi naman kayo masa-stuck na, siya lang yung available, hindi naman siya ganun, Like usually, pag kumonta kayo ng modeling agency, magbibigay yan, anong look ba hinahanap nyo? Morena, chinita, very Pinay face, exotic, whatever. Magbibigay yan ng mga choices nila and with the rates, no? Then you'll just pick from there kung sino yung ka-match, no, ng hinahanap mong look. And also get a makeup artist, no? And pag sa makeup artist naman, bago kayo mag-book ng makeup artist, ako ang ginagawa ko, I give them the products, no? Yung products, like let's say Cray, JCat, whatever. Before, papapuntahin ko sila sa store, no? Using the testers, syempre pwede pa yun noon. Using the testers and giving them sometimes free products din. Ito yung item, paglaruan mo, and we sometimes have the model there. Minsan ako lang yung test object para makita ko rin yung artistry niya. No? So, papademo ko sa kanya, like, okay, make-upan mo ko para we can see your skill. Parang audition. No? So, yung mga makeup artist, wag lang din kayo book ng book. No? I-book nyo rin sila. What I do is, okay, I'll give them 20 minutes, make-upan nila ako, or make-upan nila yung model pag nandun yung model. Minsan kasi model hindi na nakakapunta sa makeup test. So, minsan kami na lang, no, kung sino man yung nasa store, sino man yung available, magpapa-makeup. And you'll tell them naman, no, ito yung look na gusto ko. Tapos, magagawa naman nila yon usually. And give them a time limit kasi syempre, the longer it is, given naman, the longer na may time yung makeup artist, mas maganda yung makeup look. Diba? Pero I always give them 20 minutes lang. Kasi paano nga in the shoot, paano kung 20 minutes lang talaga meron, diba? Minsan 10 minutes lang kailangan palit na kasi gahol kayo sa oras. So yeah, you also have to audition, quote unquote, audition your makeup artists. What else? Pag model naman, yeah, you can see naman like the models come in prepared. They're not just like may set list sila talaga. Meron talaga silang photo, alam mo yan, parang portfolio din nila of all their photos, all the brands they worked with. Yeah, there. But to get everyone on the same page, no, para hindi nga iffy or hindi nga awkward sa photo shoot, I usually have at least one, okay? But usually I prefer 3 kasi sometimes some brands change their mind so often. I usually have one pre-prod the day before the photo shoot or usually it's a day before the photo shoot, no? Kailangan aligned lahat. Okay, photographer, anong kailangan mong ilaw kasi ito lang yung meron. It's really just a briefing, no? Like, ito yung mangyayari bukas, ito yung flow. Ito lahat ng kailangan picturean. And it's really organized, guys. Like, I swear, like, I know in the movies, they make it look like a montage of, what do you call this, makeover, di ba? Mukha siyang fun. Pero honestly, like, to make it run smoothly, no, katulad nun, ang daming planning involved. Yun nga, and coordination, no? You have to coordinate with, like, makeup artist, kailangan an hour ahead yung dumating. Kasi, may makeup niya model. Kailangan same time dumating si makeup artist, tsaka usually naman call time would be the same for all, no? Kasi si makeup artist, may makeup niya pa yung model, or yung artista, tapos yung setup, 'Di ba? Like yung mga ilaw, yung mga background, aayusin pa ng photographer tsaka ng stylist. So yeah, it usually also, again, it looks like, um, it looks like it's easy, pero it takes time, no? Especially pagdating sa mga setup that you'd have to arrange. Ayan. For product shoots, what can I say? Uso naman na ngayon yung very, casual sa bahay lang pinicturean, no? But tama yung sinabi ni Patrick that you guys have to take photos. You guys have to take photos from Pinterest, like take pegs, no? Look for inspiration. Okay, ganito yung ilaw niyan. Usually naman pag pinakita nyo sa magaling na photographer, alam niya na yung ilaw. So um, like even Patrick actually knows this. Ako, I have an eye for it, pero I don't know how to do the settings. So, alam na nila pag kailangan magdala ng extra na ilaw. Kunyari sabihin ko, hindi, ito lang, madali lang yan eh. Tapos sabihin, hindi kailangan talaga ng extra na ilaw dyan. So, ganun. The photographer would know most of the time, no? Alam ng photographer already, especially if you work with professionals. I think one last tip would be something unspoken, no, in the industry is how fast the news travels and how small it is here. Like, who was that girl? That homophobic girl. Basta yung photographer from Cebu, hindi ko, i-chat niyo kung matandaan niyo siya. Basta siya yung photographer, rising star na photographer, taga Cebu, tapos nag-catfish siya ng mga girls or something. I'm not sure if you guys can remember her. Tatandaan niyo ba yun? But yeah, everyone refused to work with her, no? Kasi nag-emotionally abuse siya ng another girl. I can't remember. Basta it was a girl posing as a guy. Tapos may kinatfish silang, like, innocent girl, no? Like, wala siyang kamalay-malay. I-comment nyo nga kung matandaan nyo yun. Basta it was a big scandal nga. Early last year, nung nag-start yung quarantine, naging issue yun. Photographer siya na girl. Tapos, may kachat siyang isa pang girl. Pero, ang persona niya was lalaki siya. Tapos, parang in-emotionally abuse niya tong girl na to. Natatandaan nyo ba yon? Umabot ba yan sa inyo? Pero it was a big deal, no? Sorry. Like, my whole point is not the scandal. My whole point is, word travels fast, no? And a lot of my friends, naka-work na nila tong photographer na to. And they have publicly announced, no? A lot of my model friends have publicly announced na they're never gonna work with her again. Kasi nga, like what she did was wrong. And it's not even about skills, no? It's just about kung sino siya as a person. So, if there's any advice, no, if you guys want to start in the creative industry, it's really 2 words: be kind, okay? Huwag kayong eme, okay? Bawal eme. Yeah, Sam Morales. Ayan, mga updated. Okay, bagets. Good job. Yeah, si Sam Morales yon. A lot of my friends have worked with her prior to the scandal, and a lot of them said, na she was normal, she didn't seem like a bad person, okay naman yung, and one of my friends said, I remember this, Jules Colas, if you're familiar, with one of the androgynous models dito sa Philippines. Best friend ko yon. Pero ngayon, busy-busy na siya sa life. Jules worked with her, tapos sabi ni Jules nga na hindi niya naramdaman, no, na this person was homophobic, no, takot sa LGBT community, and would even do harm, no, to the people in the LGBTQIA+ community. And yeah, like, she was named as one of the rising stars, the photographers, no, here in the Philippines. And wala, like, all models, a lot of the brands, no, have denounced working with her. And it wasn't even about her skills, no? It wasn't even about how good she is as a photographer. It was pangit siya na tao, no? And yun nga, it's not just about the skills, guys. It's really, again, who you are as a person. That's what will make people, want to work with you. Maririnig nyo yan, no? Like, yung term na masarap katrabaho kasi walang eme. Alam mo yun, walang drama, walang... and I of course, I'm not gonna name drop, no? Pero I just want you to know, totoo, no? May ibang mga artista na diva, Pero meron ding ibang mga artista or creatives, no? Walang arte, trabaho lang. And yeah, that's what you want to be, no? When you guys graduate, that's what you want to be. Walang drama, trabaho lang talaga. And I've worked with a lot of these people, no? Like, syempre, I won't say their names. Pero meron talaga yung mga madrama talaga na, ay, Diyos ko, Lord, hindi magsisimula hanggat walang lemon water. Ayaw magsimula hanggang ganito, ganyan. Alam niyo yun? Um, but syempre, like, you're a brand, no? So you also have to do PR around these celebrities and these influencers. But not a lot, I would say. A lot of the people I've worked with, um, walang drama talaga, walang kurap, as in professional talaga. And again, I mentioned no earlier, like with Gabby, with Alden, tapat mo lang sa camera once, walang ere yung mga yan, as in automatic. Kaya nila in one shot, no? Walang prepare. Kasi nga, they know their angles well. So yun. Okay. I think we can adjourn today. I hope you guys learned a lot. Kung may mga tanong kayo for Patrick, we're super besties. So, i-PM nyo lang dun sa group chat natin. And don't forget to follow his Instagram pages. Very noble advocacy that he's trying to do, saving these buildings. And talagang naloko siya nung na-tear down na yung PhilAm building in Manila. And it's a bad omen kasi I think someone died recently trying to take it down. But yeah. So yun, you guys, I hope you guys have a great week. If you, I'll send the recording naman, even to the other class. I'll also send your quizzes and stuff to the other, what do you call that? To the group chat. But sorry, I'll just edit in Patrick. Can you guys turn on your screens and then we'll just take a photo? Okay lang. Para may photo si Patrick. Kawawa, I forgot. Game, okay. I'll take the screenshots, bagets. I feel so bad. Sana may tutunan kayo, ah. Like, big time yan si Patrick. Okay. Game. Okay, 1, 2. Sige, kung mag-ayos-ayos muna kayo. I-edit in na lang natin si Patrick. Mamaya. How sad. Okay. Thanks, bagets. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Next page. Ay, wait. Okay, game. 1, 2, 3. Next. Wait lang. Last na. Hindi ko alam kung nag-screenshot. Okay, game. Last. Sorry, dun sa first page na lang. Okay. Okay, thanks guys. Class is adjourned. Bye.
Thank you po, ma'am.